Good afternoon, fam. What is going on? Welcome back. Welcome back to the show. It's your host, Nate. It's your coach, Nate. And it's good to have you. Today we're covering how to track your food using MyFitnessPal. And any tool also can actually work for you to figure out what you eat, what you're eating. And yesterday we covered the basic foundations about food, some of the history, what food is meant to be, and what it's not meant to be, and also how it all relates to calories as well. So, in today's stream, we are going to be doing this live step by step tutorial on how to use MyFitnessPal to track your food and to track your nutrition. So, excuse me. So if you're interested in figuring out, okay, how do I adjust my food in order for me to lose weight or to gain muscle and build muscle, this video is for you. If you really want to understand how to track your food, make sure that your food is aligned with your goals. This video is for you. So you need to watch this video till the end, and we are going to track our first meal today, and we're tracking a fried egg. That'll be the meal that we track, and we're going to log in MyFitnessPal. So don't miss that because it's going to help you understand how to track different foods and what is important when you're tracking. Because one of the things that I'm going to track is something that a lot of people don't do, or they miss. They miss this important thing. And the moment that they miss it, they start wondering, why am I not losing weight? Or why am I gaining too much weight fast? And this is a very common mistake. So you want to understand and figure out, okay, what is this mistake? How do I avoid this common mistake? And the moment you figure this mistake out, you won't repeat it. You won't be doing it again because I'll make it clear for you and you will understand what you have to do. So we are going to look at how to download MyFitnessPal and create your account and also set up your profile, including your goals, because your goals are probably one of the most important things that we need to make sure that they're in line with your diet. So the first thing that we just want to recap is we looked at yesterday, we looked at the macronutrients right here. We looked at, oh, sorry. Yeah. So the calories, the macronutrients, carbohydrates, and just how many calories we find in each one of those. And so today we are actually doing the practical part of what we covered yesterday. And so what we want to figure out is, okay, when we're setting up our macronutrients for weight loss, how much do we actually include in terms of our macronutrient distribution? So the first thing that we need to do before we even get to this point is we actually need to download the app. So what we're going to do right now is take out our phones. So if you're an iPhone user, take out your iPhone. If you're an Android user, take out your phone. And you are going to your App Store or your Google Store, right? So your App Store, for me, that's my App Store, the blue icon there in the corner, right? So I kind of like organizing my apps in folders. And okay, so this is the interface of your App Store. So I'm going to go search. You're going to search MyFitnessPal, right? So MyFitnessPal pops up. That is MyFitnessPal. That's the app that pops up. So as you can tell, I have it downloaded. So it's giving me the option to open. But if you haven't downloaded it, it's going to give you a little button on your right hand side that says get. So you want to tap on that. And then once it's done downloading, it's going to download to your home screen. So again, I have my folders organized. So health and fitness, so I've got that. Those are my folders. So I'm going to tap on MyFitnessPal. Once I tap MyFitnessPal, it's going to give me this login screen, right? So you're going to create your account, or you're going to log in if you already have one. So you can either connect and log in using your Google, you can connect using your Apple, or you can connect using your Facebook. Either way, I prefer to just log in using my email because it doesn't share data with other platforms. So I always try to make sure that is done every single time. So I'm going to log into MyFitnessPal. Okay. So we are logging in. Not now. Okay. So right away, they're going to show you, right, this offer to say, do you want to pay for premium or you just want to skip? So there's an option to go 1 month, a month to month, billed monthly, or you can go 12 months, billed annually. So you get ad-free, an ad-free app. You can log faster, barcode, multi-day logging. I think this is something that you can actually do. Some of it you can log faster. I don't think you necessarily need to pay for it right away, but first of all, just learn the basics first. And once you figure out, okay, what do you actually need the extra features, then you decide whether you want to get it or not. So I've paid for it. I've also had times that I haven't paid for it, and it doesn't really make much of a difference for me because I'm just going in, logging, and leaving. I'm not spending too much time in it. Yeah, sure, the ads kind of bother you sometimes, but it's not the worst thing, right? So I just removed that ad and I just had this pop up. So this is an account that I've used before, but I'm going to show you exactly what you do. So you're going to see in the corner here, so that icon, right, with that avatar, I'm going to tap on that. I'm going to tap on that avatar, right, right here. So I'm going to tap on it. So that's going to give me this screen, and I'm going to tap edit profile. And then when I tap edit profile, it gives me, so this is a profile that I use for helping me with creating plans for clients as well. So right now I have these details added in, right? So I just put like random details for a previous client. So that's height. So you tap on height, you can pick your height within in feet or in centimeters, whichever one you use. You can pick your height. So you're gonna pick whichever one, right? So this is 5'5", and then you're gonna pick the sex. You're gonna pick the date of birth. So you can pick whichever one. You can put your location, time zone, and then your email should be there or already automatic. And then it's gonna ask you again, very similar to the workout apps, like what units of measurement do you like to use? So this is also very important because it makes it easier for you when you're tracking anything that you're using, right? When you're tracking weight, when you're tracking the distance that you're running, and the types of things that you use to measure your food. So now this is the most important part. So this part is the most important. when you're setting up your account. Because now the last section right there is your goals. So right here, so that's your goals. So you're going to tap on that. So you're going to put your starting weight, how much you weigh right now. You're going to add that in. And then you're going to go again, that same starting weight. That is what you're going to put for your current weight. Your starting weight and current weight will be the same. Or if you've already done this already before and your current weight has changed, but you had like a goal, like where you started, you're starting to track now, you can put the amount of weight that you started at and what you currently weigh. And then and now you want to put the goal weight. So, for example, in this case, she wants to gain weight. So she's 121 pounds and she wants to gain and reach 145 pounds. So that's roughly a 24-pound difference, right? So now the goal, the weekly goal, you can pick to see like, okay, in a week, how much you want to gain in a week. So our week is going to be our marker in terms of how much we're gaining per week. So it could either be like 0.5 pounds per week, it could be 1 pound per week. So the moment you have this set to either 0.5 or 1 pound a week, if you start gaining more than that, it means that you might be gaining too much weight and too much fat if you're trying to build muscle. And you want to gain it relatively at a steady pace. You don't want to just gain it all of a sudden, and that's going to be a lot of fat. So you don't want to build a lot of fat, right? When you're gaining the weight. So you want to make sure that you pick either 0.5 or 1 pound. And this now depends on, let's say, your goal. Like, do you have a timeline? Maybe you have a wedding that you want to attend. Maybe you have some sort of like commitment that you are trying to gain your weight by, that you're trying to gain the weight for. And yeah, it could be anything really. So you want to use that timeline because that's part of like setting goals. You want to have a timeline so that you know when and how to know if you're on the right path or not. So once you have that timeline, okay, so let's say, for example, if you're like, okay, I've got a wedding in 2 weeks, right? Or in a month, and you're trying to gain 24 pounds, I'm going to tell you, like, okay, that's probably not the best way to go about it. It's going to be very hard because if you're doing that calculation, let's say within a month, you're trying to gain 24 pounds, right? Because muscle doesn't just grow like that, right? So if you're trying to gain 24 pounds in 4 weeks, it means that you have to gain about 6 pounds in a week. So that is unrealistic. So in order for us to see, okay, how much can you gain in a week? Let's say if you're going for 1 pound per week, so you already know that's 24 weeks. So you know that in roughly 6 months, you can gain the 24 pounds in 6 months. So at least that's a reasonable goal. Or if you're like, okay, I'm just going to gain 0.5, it doesn't matter. So that means that 24 pounds, that's going to be double. So you're going to gain that in about a year. So that'd be 1 year that it takes you to gain that 24 pounds. And you can have that 1 year transformation. So it's 6 year transformation or 1 year transformation, where you still look lean and you're also looking fit. So you're not putting on a lot of fat. So you want to take it gradually. Because if you do that, another way to do it, it's like when bodybuilders compete, they do like the bulking cutting, where they still gain maybe 2 pounds or 2.5 pounds a week with a little bit of fat, but they're training very hard. And by eating a lot of food, they're also using that energy to build more muscle. So they're really pushing themselves. And by doing that, then they cut down because they've built up a little bit more weight, then they cut down. But that's also not as sustainable because you're sort of putting your body in that yo yo diet sort of situation because you're kind of like getting there fast, cutting, getting there fast, cutting, and it puts some strain on your body. So it's better to do it gradually. It does work, but overall health, it's probably not the most sustainable because you're spiking your hormones and you don't want to yo-yo your hormones as well at the same time. So so what I would recommend is going with the zero point 0.5 or 1 pound a week if you're looking to gain weight. And then after that, you're going to pick your activity level, right? So it'll give you an option, not very active, lightly active, active, very active. So you can pick what it is how you determine. And not very active is like, okay, like you don't move at all. Maybe you work a sedentary job where you're not moving, you wake up, you go to work, you sit in the car, you get out of the car, you go sit at your desk, you leave, you go back home. That's sedentary. And for a lightly active, this is probably more like, okay, you maybe work out, you still have that same maybe lifestyle, but maybe you go to the gym after maybe 1 to 2 times a week and you're lightly active, but you're not like extremely active. Like you don't have that consistency of going to the gym like maybe 3, 4 times a week. So that would be like lightly active. And then if you're active, that's like, okay, maybe you have the same lifestyle, but you still go to the gym. And maybe your work, your job involves you standing up. Maybe you're a teacher, you're on your feet most part of the day, for the most part of the day. So that's like your active level. And then if you're very active, it means that maybe you work like construction and you're always moving around, carrying things. So more like physical work. That would be like you're very active. That's the activity level that you'd set it to. So whatever your goal, whatever your lifestyle is right now, that's what you'd put there. So if you're active, not very active. So in this case, with her, this would be not very active. So she's also looking to gain 1 pound per week. So maybe she might even gain like 1.5, right? Because she's not very active. But if she was very active and she's trying to gain 1 pound per week, it means that her diet should be like a lot of calories, right? So yeah, so in this case, now because we've set these already, once we've set these, it's going to show up. We're going to go to like nutrition goals, right? Right in the middle there, nutrition goals. So we're going to click nutrition goals. So automatically, what the app does, it estimates based on the information that we've put in. So the app estimates what the total calories that we have to eat are going to be. And it gives you your carbs, it gives you your protein, gives you your fats with the distribution, right? So you've got the 50, 30, 20. That's the distribution. So in this case, the carbs are like 283 grams. The protein is like 113 grams. The fat is like 75 grams. So I won't change the calories. But in this case, because she's looking to gain weight, the first thing that she needs to adjust, or the first thing that you need to adjust, is the protein. Because a lot of people don't eat enough protein in a day. And the protein that you eat has to be, this is where this is going to matter now. So we're going to look at this. Okay. So the protein that you have to eat is one gram to 1.2 grams or 1.5 grams per pound of body weight to support muscle synthesis and recovery. And then your carbs would be like 2 to 3 grams per pound of body weight. So the first thing that we're going to do is look at her distribution. So right now she was at 135 grams of protein. So I'm going to change the percentage point until it's 145 or as close as possible to 145. So I'm going to go with, so right now when I change that to like 25, it gives me 141. So I'm just going to bump it up a little bit to 30 pounds. And that's the next percentage point because it goes in 5% increments. So I'm going to go to 30%. And then when I go 30%, it's going to give me 170 grams. So that's over the 145. So which means we're tapping into that 1.2. And so I'm going to keep it there. And then if I try say done, right? It's not going to allow me because my percentage point at the bottom there, it's like 110. So the math is not adding. So now I'm going to reduce the carbs. So I'm going to reduce the carbs until the percentage point is back to 100. So now automatically I know that the carbs have to drop to 40%. So now when I drop the carbs, it goes down to 40%. The fats, I'm not going to adjust those because fats are already important for your hormones, especially for women. You want to make sure that you're eating enough fats in your diet. So now this is 100%. I can click it done, right? So right now I'm still eating the same, or she's going to eat the same calories, right? And the carbs, the protein have adjusted, and the fat has adjusted. And then if you were like, okay, I want to get leaner, I want to look leaner and still gain muscle. And I would say, okay, like let's see what we can do with the carbs because 226 grams of carbs, it can be depending on the person and the type of work that she does, right? So I could even increase the protein a bit more, or I would increase a bit of the fat, maybe, right? I could also do that. So for women, maybe I would increase the fat for like a woman, and I would reduce the carbs a little bit more, right? So I still have the same calories, but I just adjusted the macros. So which means that she can add a bit more fat into her diet, and which means that she can have that extra handful of nuts or like the avocado. So that's something that she can still do. So yeah, so essentially this is the basis for your calories, for your macros, and you can play around with that. And obviously, like as you see results, you can always come back and adjust. But the most important is the protein. The protein, you want to make sure that it's at least 1 pound, at least minimum, right? Just for health reasons, right? But if you really want to have that lean look, I would increase the protein a bit more, right? Because the protein is going to help with building muscle. And by reducing your carbs will hold a bit more water weight. So when you reduce the carbs, then you're going to lose a bit of that water weight and water retention. So you can reduce the carbs a little bit, but don't reduce it too much where you're like struggling to get through the day. But you just want to make sure that it's at an appropriate level, that it's sustaining your energy throughout the day. Because if your energy is sustained throughout the day, you won't have that desire to snack on things that are not going to help you reach your goal, or snack on junk food or order food. You're not going to feel that drive or that desire. And yeah, the temptation is easier to manage, right? So if you have the premium, you can set your goals by meals, or you can actually show your protein, fats, and meals, right? So that's the nutrition goals. But for nutrition goals, that's all you really need to set up for now. And then you're going to have additional nutrition goals. So if you're someone who's like, okay, maybe I need to eat a bit more iron, I'm deficient in something, you also have like additional nutrition goals, right? Like at the bottom of nutrition goals. So you can tap additional, right? nutrition goals, and that's going to show you like saturated fats, polysaturated, mono, trans, cholesterol, sodium, potassium, fiber, sugar, vitamin A, C, calcium, iron. So I just usually leave these the same. And I usually just track as I eat my food to see, okay, if I don't actually have any vitamin C. For me personally, I enjoy and I find that foods with vitamin C help me a lot skin wise and also just like recovery. And yeah, and so I think it's very helpful. And then now the next part is putting in your workouts. Okay, so how many workouts are you doing per week? So you can set that up. So now when you say, okay, maybe I'm doing 3 workouts, right? And maybe I'm training for, let's see, how many minutes? Let's say 60. Let's say you're training for an hour. So I'm going to put 60 minutes, right? I'm going to put 60 minutes there and then boom, done, right? So now, because I've done this, I want to see if my calories have changed, what I set up before, because this also means that my activity level is going up, right? Before it was 0 and now it's not. So I have that set up and my calories are still the same, right? So everything is still the same. I'm still in a caloric surplus, meaning I'm eating more food, eating more energy than I'm going to burn, which allows my body to store some of that energy and either turn it into some muscle as I'm building, because I'm training, I'm working out. And so now we've set our profile, we've set up our goals, and we're done. So right now, if I'm looking now at this, so this is, yeah. So this is a guide on how to use MyFitnessPal, right? So we've downloaded and set up the app. So we've done that step by step. Okay, boom. Okay. And then we got it. So Android Play Store, we've got that. Okay, open MyFitnessPal. So we've done that. We've created our account, set up your profile. So that's what we've just done. So yeah, so you filled out your age, height, weight, activity level, right? So yeah, so we've set that up. And then we're now going to understand the dashboard for MyFitnessPal. So understanding the dashboard for MyFitnessPal, now we are going back to where we started. So when you log in, there's some parts of the app where you won't have access to if you're using the free version. And just looking at, so right now we're just looking at the free version. So when you log in, it gives you this dashboard, right? So you've got your calories. It tells you, it gives you that dashboard with the 2,260 calories. So that's the goal that we set. So it's showing us if we've reached that goal or not. And then we've got the food, exercise, so base calories, everything. Okay. So that's the top part. And then, so it's going to have like certain features that you either can use or not use. So it gives you the option to track your steps, to track your exercise. One of the things that I would recommend is don't track your exercises or calories with this because it sort of throws off your calories usually. And you don't actually have like a very reliable way to see if the calories that you ate today because it tries to compensate based on the calories that you've burnt that day. So if I'm using, like, let's say an Apple Watch or whatever device that you connected, these are not always the most accurate in terms of measuring your activity level. So it might throw off your data. So don't use it because this will have like its own error that it has, a degree of error. So you want to keep it consistent. If you're using like a tracker, just keep it separate. And then you you can scroll down so it'll show you like, okay, different things that you can track: your sleep and your water and your workouts, everything else that we talked about. So now the most important part, you're like, okay, Nate, we've set up everything, so how do I actually track my food? So to track your food, there are a couple ways that you can go about it. Two ways from the dashboard. There's that middle button there. So on Android, it might be a little bit different, right? The interface might be a little bit different, mind you. So for Apple, this is what you do. So you just tap the middle and it's going to show you that. So, like, you can log your food, scan a meal, right? You can scan your barcode or you can do a voice log, and water, weight, exercise. Or there's a part here on the side that says diary, just next to dashboard, right? So in the middle, just, yeah, on the second next to dashboard. So you can tap diary. When you tap diary, it's going to show you, okay, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dinner, snacks, dinner, snacks, exercise, water. So you can add those things separately. And once you add it, don't let it adjust your calories. Just put it in there. And once you add it, I find MyFitnessPal is good for food. When you try add things like exercise and stuff, it's not the greatest. So what we're going to do is we're going to add breakfast because we're adding a fried egg into our breakfast. So when you go breakfast, it's going to give you these options on how you want to add your food. Scan barcode, scan the meal, voice log. So what we are going to do, we're going to do two things. Certain things like eggs, let's say, for example, this is just a regular egg, right? So we're going to fry this egg and log the meal we were frying it. Oh, didn't break. Okay. Okay, so we're going to fry the egg. So what you're going to do is in the top bar right there, we're going to search. We're going to type in egg, egg, whole egg. So when you type in egg, it's going to show me history. It's going to show me a history, like results, and then it's going to show me the best match. So by doing that, I'm just going to click. Oh, that green check mark. I think we're disconnected here. What is going on? Are we back? Okay, I think we're back. Yeah. So there's the green check mark. The green check mark simply means that the food is verified. So the details have been verified. The nutritional facts have been verified because this is a database. And as you can see, like most of the eggs will have roughly the same number of calories as well. So by us looking at that, so I'm going to take the best match, and the first thing that I'm going to do is tap on it. Okay, now this is the ad. This is where the ad comes in. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to tap on it. When I tap on it, It shows me the calories, it shows me the macros, right? So like the fats, carbs, and protein. So the carbs are zero point 0.5, the fat is 5 grams, and the protein is 6.2. So when you log any food item, you're always going to have, for most foods, you're always going to have like some level or some amount of carbs, some amount of fats, some amount of protein. And the way that you classify a food as if it's a carb, if it's a fat, if it's protein, it depends on the distribution of each of those macronutrients. So if the food has more protein than anything else, you consider it a fat. Sorry, you consider it a protein. And it's got some fats, which is definitely comparable to like the protein, but it's still lower. So it'll be a good source of fat as well. So it's one food item that we'd also still consider if if we need to make sure that we hit our goal for fat. That would be like the eggs. So that would be a source of fat. And some sources of fat are better than other sources of fat because some sources of fat could be sources that are coming from carbs. And maybe you're trying to reduce your carbs. So you're better off getting some of your fat sources from meat sources. That gives you both protein and your fats at the same time. And this is what helps you reach your fat goals without taking too much fatty food and adding too much oil to your food. So this is essentially how you'd look at your food. And the other thing that you're going to do is now is tap log. And then the moment you log it, you're good, right? So if you log it, you come back, it's going to bring you back to that search screen, and then you are going to go back. You're going to go breakfast. You have your egg that's been logged right there. So now a fried egg, how do you log a fried egg? You have to add some oil, right? For your fried egg. So your fried egg now needs to get some oil. So how are you going to cook your oil? How are you going to fry your egg? What oil do you prefer? Do you use like virgin, extra virgin olive oil? Do you use maybe avocado oil? Do you use coconut oil? What do you use? So today we're going to use coconut oil. So I'm going to take this coconut oil, right? This is coconut oil, Kirkland, right? So already this one has a nutritional label right there. That's the nutritional label with the nutritional facts. That's what we call a nutritional label. So already I can see, okay, it's got 90 calories. Okay, it's got fats. It's got zero carbs, which is good, zero protein, zero sodium. And this is organic virgin coconut oil. So it's pure coconut oil. So if I'm going to use this to cook, and this is the mistake that a lot of people make. If they're frying food, they don't track the oil. And maybe when they track the oil, or maybe when they use the oil, they might put like an entire tablespoon that's like heaped, or they might put, I don't know, they might put like, if they're using like oil that's like liquid, they might just put like, they don't even measure. They might not just measure it. They might just pour it in. So when you're measuring your oils, let's say for coconut oil, you want to be able to use a tablespoon. You're likely going to use a tablespoon, and you're going to need a scale, right? So you're going to need a scale, a kitchen scale. Excuse me. With a kitchen scale, you're gonna have like two units, right? You've got your on, and then you're gonna put it down on a flat surface, and then you're gonna put tar, right? So I'm gonna tar it so that it goes to zero when you tar it. And then I've got this spoon right here, this tablespoon. I'm gonna place it. I see, okay, it's 53 grams. And then I'm gonna tar it again. I'm gonna put tar. So now when you put tar, it takes it back to zero, right? Takes it back to zero with the spoon on top. And the next thing that I'm going to do is take the spoon, right? It goes back, when I put it back on, goes back to zero. Okay, boom. Now I'm going to take the spoon. I've put some coconut oil on this. Now I'm going to put the spoon back. I'm going to put the spoon back with the coconut oil. And then boom, it gives me 9 grams of coconut oil. Boom. So I know, okay, that is 9 grams of coconut oil. So now that's the tablespoon that I put on. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is come back here to my breakfast, and right now I need to find this exact coconut oil because different coconut oils being are going to be different depending on like who's making it, right? So, oh, okay, so I had the meal scan, I can't use it. Oh, shucks. Okay, barcode scan, I can't use it. So this used to be free. This used to be a free feature. So now what I have to do is I have to read this label. I'm just gonna go. So maybe this is the part that maybe I might just, get the premium subscription. But I might just still you can still do it without it, right? Because I'm just gonna go coconut oil. Actually, I'm going to first put the label, the company that made it. So I'm going to go Kirkland Cocoa Coconut Oil. So it comes up, it gets suggested. And the moment that I just search it, it pops up different results. So this is the beauty of a database. And some of the results are verified, some of them are not. So I'm going to tap on the one that's verified right now. And the moment I tap on it, it's giving me this amount that was verified. So that's about 130 calories for 14 grams. So I measured 9 grams. So, okay. So it's saying serving size, that's 14 grams. Number of servings, one. So I only use 9 grams, and there's no serving size for 14 because it's not 9 grams is a fraction of 14. So I have to change this 14 grams. Otherwise, I would have to put like a fraction to say, okay, 9 over 14, then that'll be my number of servings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the basic unit. So I'm going to tap on the serving size, right? Where it says serving size, I'm going to tap on 14. All right. So it's going to show me that list. So I'm going to click 1 gram so that I can actually measure everything based on 1 gram. That'll be my serving size. So when I put 1 gram, it now shows me that it changes to 9 calories for 1 gram. So I used 9, 9 grams. So now for 9 grams, that's what you have. You've got 84 calories and 9.6 grams of fat. And then I'm going to tap log. and boom, you've got your fried egg, 155 calories. And so now with the 155 calories, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of my diary, right? You scroll down to the bottom of your diary, and you're going to see right there at the bottom it says nutrition and notes. I'm going to tap on nutrition. And now with the nutrition, it's going to give me a breakdown of where I'm at with my nutrition for the day based on my goals, right? Based on my goals. So now I can see, okay, my protein, I've only had like 6 grams. My carbs, zero carbs. Fiber, zero. Sugar, zero. Fat, 15. Saturated fat, 10. Okay. So now you got to adjust this, right? So based on your diet, what you have in your pantry, you can pick the foods and start planning your meals to see, okay, how do I reach my goal? So this is where the meal planning will come in place, because now you've got your goals, you know what the goals need to be. Now it's like, okay, so what meals can I actually eat for me to reach my goal? That's the next question. What meals can I actually eat for me to hit my goal? And that's what we'll cover in the next stream tomorrow, how to meal plan. And we're going to use the same example, and we'll cover how to meal plan and how we can hit our goal by figuring out, okay, what meals do I include? What meals don't I include? This is where the technicalities now come in and the customizing of your meal plans. This is where it really matters now. And once you figure this out the first time, you don't have to reinvent everything because everything will be set up for you. And once you do this, you can also save your meals. Once you track them, you figure this out. You can track your meals, you can save them so that you just know, you just tap log, 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 because you know what meal you had. So you can just log that same meal, and you don't have to keep trying to figure this thing. You don't have to keep trying to figure this out all the time. You just do it once, you know that everything is good, and you're set. You're golden. So this is the fundamental basis of tracking your food. This is basically what you need to do. And the next part is simply the meal planning to see, okay, based on my goals, how do I now plan? How do I create a plan for me to reach my goals? What meals can I have that actually allow me to hit my goal? And that's where the nutritional plan comes in, the meal plan. And yeah, once you've done this, then yeah, you just follow the plan every day. And maybe you might want to have like two variations of your meal plans so that you have a bit of variety in between. And the other thing to point out before we go here is your serving sizes, right? So as you can see, there's like serving sizes like, okay, are you using ounces, grams, or are you using like pounds? Are you using a cup? Are you using a quart? What are you using? So that's something that you now have to standardize as part of your own tracking process, right? Because you can use a teaspoon, right? You can have this, or you can use measuring cups, right? You can have these measuring spoons that are also labeled with oh, you can see it with numbers. Like this is a quarter cup, right? So you can have these that you can use, and you can also use these, right? These measuring cups, right? These, they are marked, and you know how many meals that you're using. And so yeah, so you want to use whatever you have in your kitchen. And if you don't have any, I recommend that you invest in some of these measuring cups, scale, right? A kitchen scale. And yeah, just so that you know, so that you have an idea. Because the moment you measure this stuff or you measure your food for like a month, 2 months, you'll be able to actually maybe eyeball and see, okay, this is how much I'm using, right? So you don't always have to measure all the time, but once you and obsess, because some people complain that like, yo, I don't want to measure everything because I start getting obsessive about how much I'm eating if I'm off by a little bit. No, it's not about that. It's just about you mentally, because a lot of times when you just try and measure by eyeballing things, we overestimate a lot of times. Because we're like, no, it's not that much. But the moment you see that number, you know, like, okay, this is how much it weighs, and I've added like maybe a cup, or like when you see like, okay, if you're putting nuts in this, and then you put it on a scale, you see how much it weighs. Now you know every time. If you just go in your whatever nut jar, you just pick, and then maybe you put them in your palm. You see, okay, how much actually fill your palm, and then so every time you go, you use your hand to pick up nuts. You now know, okay, this is roughly about 20 grams, 50 grams. Okay, so the 50 grams is about maybe 200 calories. So now you know, like, okay, every time you pick that handful of nuts, that's like 200 calories that you're eating. So that's an important thing to understand, because now with the meal planning that we're going to talk about tomorrow, it also includes like, okay, so what meals can you eat so that you feel satiated and you're full, and even when you're snacking, because sometimes we're deceived by what we see and what we just look at, and it's actually not the thing that we need to pay attention to. So just having these tools for tracking your food are very important and very crucial. So make sure you invest in some of these and have these tools, right? So you've got your kitchen scale, for example, right? You've got your measuring cups, right? Or measuring spoons, and you've got your cups, right? And yeah, and that's what you need for measuring, and then you can measure things using grams, ounces, and then just yeah, just use this, and it helps you, because if you don't track what you're doing, it's going to be hard to improve. You can't improve things that you don't track. You just cannot improve it, because it's like, okay, you're improving it from what point to what point, because you don't have a baseline. So you need a baseline. And when you start tracking, you track it for a month, and then you adjust, because what we've done is set up a baseline. Everything that we've done from MyFitnessPal, figuring out those numbers, calories, and the protein, the macros, what we've done is just essentially create a baseline for ourselves when we're starting out. And once we've done this for like a month, the next step that we need to take is to actually adjust based on the results, because we've set a target. Say, okay, in a week I want to gain 1 pound. So in 4 weeks, if you haven't gained 4 pounds, it means that, okay, something is going wrong with the whole plan, so we need to adjust. Maybe we need to increase a bit of the carbs, and maybe adjust the plan and adjust the calories. Maybe that's what we need to do. Or if you've gained more than that, maybe we need to reduce the calories a little bit more. And maybe we're now looking back at your training to see, okay, did you train as many times as you're supposed to during that week? So these are the things that we have to really think about and figure out, like, okay, are we doing the right things or not? And yeah, once we figure that out, we do the right things, then we're rocking. We're on the right track, and we're going to be seeing positive results. And the more you don't work out, the more you want to adjust your calories so that you reduce them. But always make sure that you're tracking your protein, and your protein is the most important, and you're hitting that goal. Make sure that the protein is at least 1 gram per pound of your goal body weight. The goal body weight, not the current body weight, but the goal body weight. That's what you want to do, and make sure that is done properly. And in no time, you'll start seeing results slowly, gradually, and you just instill those habits in terms of how you eat, and you know, because it's about bringing awareness to what you're actually putting into your body. And when you have awareness of what you're putting into your body, life just becomes easier, becomes better, and the stress goes away. You don't worry about stuff too much. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.